Hello, everybody. Welcome into another episode of Arsenal Fan Circle, episode 19. And we have my co host is back on the airwaves. Got the news.
Yes. How are you doing?
We've had, truthfully, some technical difficulties over the last few weeks, but we are here now. The team has been restored.
Brilliant.
Right. So, without further ado, let's go because we only have Mahir, Gunded News, my brother, here for 35 minutes. So let's make the most use of him as possible. We're going to introduce a new segment called Mahir's Market. And as everybody may be able to guess, it is transfer speculation. So let's imagine, Mahir, that I am Unai Emery and you are the guy charged with getting three players that I need. I would need a center back, I need a left back, and I need a box-to-box midfielder to replace Ramsey. We can all debate, but I'm the coach, and I say what I want. Give me two options for each position.
Okay.
Realistic options.
Realistically, for centre backs, we have four available. We could go out and get Costas Manolas, who we do know plays for us. He will be to 35 million. That is his release clause, and could form a brilliant partnership with himself, Papa Stoffelos. The second option that we do have available, Ray, and to our subscribers as well, we could pull off a Sol Campbell 2.0. And I'm sure we do know who I'm talking about. It would be Toby Alderweireld from those who shall not be named.
Yes,
And
Toby.
he will also be relatively cheap with his contract expiring at the end of, was the end of this season. And about 30 to 35 million. With all of his experience, I'm sure he could strike up a hell of a partnership with another quality centre back. For left back, I'm going with Kieran Tierney from Celtic.
Yes.
Very young left back. And like I say, all of these are very realistic and are rather budgeted players. With the likes of the Koulibaly's in that going for about 80 million, 90 million. De Ligt as well. So yeah, that's basically two positions covered. And the third but last one would be a box-to-box midfielder.
To replace Aaron Ramsey.
Yeah, to replace Aaron Ramsey. Two options. Adrian Rabiot, who we could sign on a free, or Hakim Ziyech from Ajax, who I would personally in that role as a young upcoming prospect. And we've seen what Ajax have done this season by getting into a semi-final of Champions League.
Yeah. And very unlucky that Ajax team had an opportunity to close the game out against Tottenham, and a little bit of an experience as we talked about before. Now we worry that the team might break up like Monaco did a few years ago.
And Monaco had a
And look, they have a good youth system and all of that, but you would ideally want to hold on to your best players. But the bigger clubs are going to come looking, and hopefully we're one of them.
Yes, we pray for that as well.
Yeah. So yeah, those are very, very good options for the three targets that maybe we should have this summer. Now,
Most definitely.
thanks for that. That's a feature we're going to continue probably through the summer, especially when we go into transfer fever overdrive. Speculation will be rife, but let's try to keep it to, like you did, a realistic level. Two options per position, and maybe we'll look at some other options if people have some opinion on what we need to reinvest in, what positions we need to reinforce. I think everybody will believe and know that we need a centre back, but Bahir could be very, very Arsenal of us and go get the other positions filled first.
If that happens, like I don't know what we think. Like for example, putting the likes of a Liechtenstein ahead of Bella doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't make any sense. So give me some updates on what might happen in the Europa League final in terms of who's in training, who could be in on that substitutes bench, and who could be possible to start the game. And we won't go through the lineup till later, but any players that are in contention. I heard from Christopher that Bellerin is back in training.
Yes, but we do know that he comes long-term injury. So whether
Yeah,
or not game, even as a small part, is to me it's highly doubtful.
it would be a huge risk
Yes.
to bring a player that hasn't played any games. I mean, we played a couple of maybe a friendly game or two behind closed doors against Austrian opposition. A little bit of debate as to whether we won 6-0 or I think 4-0. But
A friendly is a friendly though.
a friendly is a friendly.
But personally, I wouldn't risk Bellerin.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, moving on to the next segment, and we're going to talk about 1989 and 30 years ago. Probably you were not born at that time, but don't need to I don't mean to disrespect you or anything or diss you.
No, it's not disrespect. I wasn't born. I was born in 1989 though.
Tell me what 1989 means to you.
Well, I'd first love to hear from you, our host.
Yeah, as everybody might know at this point, like I started following Arsenal around 1987, 1986, a young Arsenal team full of, we can all name those players now. Tony Adams, Steve Bold. We bought players like Lee Dixon and Nigel Winterburn. And actually at the time, John Lukic was 1 million, a goalkeeper. Going through the midfield, we had Paul Davis, who was a veteran player at the time, and Kevin Richardson, who we bought from Everton. Two veteran players, and around those we put Michael Thomas, David Rocastle, and even a player that came later, I think, was Brian Marwood. And then up front we had Paul Merson, who'd come through from the youth system as well. And we bought Alan Smith from Leicester City, who had been prolific with Leicester City, scoring a lot of goals. So that year started off very, very well. We won 5-0 at Wimbledon. So that was a testament to what we were going to do. The year of 1988-89 went, I think, 13 games unbeaten. And then we were beaten. I think it was by Luton Town, who at the time were playing on a plastic pitch. And
Wow.
yeah. Now, at that time, Liverpool was something like a Manchester City are today. They had all the best players. They had a really good defense. Alan Hansen, Stevie Nicol. And then they had players like Ronnie Whelan, Mark Lawrenson, John Aldridge, Ray Houghton, all these household names, and especially, Peter Beardsley and John Barnes. So Liverpool were a juggernaut of the time, and they had a little bit of a wobble. And Arsenal, at one point in the season, around about January, February, they had an 18-point lead. Can you? I think it was an 18-point lead. I could stand to be corrected, maybe, but it was a big lead, bigger than what Liverpool had this year versus Manchester City. And Lee Dixon has mentioned many, many times that that's when they started looking at the league table. That young Arsenal team started looking at the league table, and they started to think that they had the league won. And Liverpool, being Liverpool, um, got on a run, and we started to wobble, especially in the last 2 or 3 games. There was a midweek game that we drew to Wimbledon, who were always a very tough team to play against, and we drew 2-2. And then the next weekend, we lost to Derby County 3-1 with Dean Saunders. Now, just talking about all this, it brings my memory back to everything that happened in that week. Dean Saunders inspired a defeat for Arsenal at Highbury, and I think at that same day, Liverpool were beating somebody 5-0. So, can you imagine Arsenal lose 3-1 or 3-2? I can't remember what it was, but they lost at home, and then Liverpool win 5-0. So the mentality going to Anfield was just, and I'm just gonna Alex from Cannon Fodder TV. Thanks, Alex, for coming in. You have a comment. When I look at the full and complete match on YouTube, even the before game interviews with George Graham, I still get anxious as if I don't know what is going to happen. Yeah, it kind of gives me chills, and unfortunately, the people who died at Hillsborough, may they rest in peace. But this game was deferred because of that till the end of the season. And nobody, nobody in the world except for the people in the dressing room believed that they could win at Anfield. And Alex has another comment. I too gave up thinking Arsenal didn't do it. Somehow I stayed away from radio and TV reports until the next day, only to find out they beat Liverpool. And he said, "Well said." Thanks, Alex. Yeah, so a little bit of background as I shared in one of my videos before, Matt, here, that I was working in a store, packing shelves, and I was working. It was a Friday night. It was unusual for football to be on a Friday night, but this game was on Friday night. Hi, Richard. Richard from Arsenal TV is here. Thanks, Richard. Just recounting that famous night in 1989 at Anfield and what I was doing. I had two friends across the road. I was 18 years old at the time. I did not want to know. I didn't want to be, what do you call that, gassed by Liverpool, or Liverpool throwing shade at me. So I lived across the road. I went to work. I didn't want to know what was going on. And at the time, you didn't have internet or anything. You couldn't really check up on the score until you had teletext. Not here. Teletext. I don't know if you know what teletext is.
Yeah, that's
on the TV, you can switch to text and get your news there. And London Old School, thanks for coming in, London Old School. So I was hiding from my Liverpool supporting friends across the road. I came home late that night. I was working the evening shift. I came home late that night, went to bed, and I slept in, as you do as an 18-year-old. You sleep into like 11 or 12. I woke up that morning, looked out. It was a crack in the curtains. I looked out, and there were my two Liverpool friends standing against the wall and talking. And for sure, I was not going to go outside. I was not going to go outside at all. Because I was certain this Liverpool team would beat this Arsenal team. And ever since then, I think I have become an optimistic supporter, because this Arsenal team can surprise you. Okay, so some comments before I continue. Hi, Richard. Evening, Ray. London Old School. When Arsenal team came onto the pitch at the start of the game and gave bouquets of flowers to the Liverpool fans, I knew we would win. Richard, I wasn't even born then, but I've seen YouTube videos on it. It was an amazing night, Richard. Alex is laughing and more laughing in between. Teletext, a world away, Ray. Yeah. Teletext, I mean, and when we talk to James Rowe and realize this final, we haven't won a Europa League, a European League final, Europa final in 25 years. Teletext was 25 years ago. And
Wow.
Faxing, which we'll go on and talk. We'll talk about the Raul and Vinay interview pretty soon. Faxing. I'm trying to compress a lot of things into this 35 minutes because Mahir is leaving after 35. London Old School was telling me yesterday he watched it in a pub in Islington with 300 gooners, and there was carnage at the end. It was just crazy. Teletext and Oracle. Yeah. So these are all the things that 25 years ago and 30 years ago we had. We didn't have a phone at our fingertips. So I didn't wake up till noon. I turned on a TV show in Ireland called Sports Stadium, and there it was. Arsenal had won 2-0 with George Graham employing three players at the back, which was kind of unheard of in England at the time. And it was a really, really good ploy because he was able to release Winterburn and Dixon down the wings. And we had David O'Leary, we had Tony Adams, and we had Steve Bold at the back. And if we only had those players today, we would be doing big
We would be
things.
destroying things.
Imagine those three combined with the rest of our squad. That would be something else. London Old School. Born in Liverpool Road, Angel, Royal Free Hospital, apartment blocks now. All right. So the first half, here, and you've probably seen all of this. First half was a very even game, a very tense game. Steve Bold had a header, went just over, but there was really no big chances. And I feel like Liverpool kind of played for a draw in this game. In the second half, on 52nd minute, David Rocky Roadcastle had a free kick. He played it in, a header off of Alan Smith's tip of his hair, tip of his forehead, into the corner. Liverpool players were panicking. Liverpool players protested to the referee. Referee went to the linesman. It's a goal. It was given. 1-0 to the Arsenal. But as you know, we needed how many to take the title? 2 goals. We needed 2 clear goals to take the title. 20 minutes from the end, Kevin Richardson slides the ball into Mickey Thomas's feet, right in that position where he would score 20 minutes later. But it was a tame shot. Grobbelaar saves easily. The game is tense. Can you imagine all of the supporters in Liverpool biting their nails, and all of the supporters in Arsenal all over the world biting their nails? And then, I'm getting there, Alex. And then, as Alex says, the iconic image of Steve McMahon going 1 minute. 1 minute. He was telling everybody 1 minute. Liverpool just needed to see out 1 minute. Now, in those days, you could pick up a back pass. So Tony Adams collects the ball in what has to be the 92nd minute. He passes the ball to John Lukic. John Lukic picks up the ball. He rolls the ball out to Lee Dixon on the right-hand side. Lee Dixon plays a long ball up to Alan Smith in midfield. Alan Smith controls it perfectly and volleys it in towards the D of the penalty area. Michael Thomas hits the ball. It somehow ricochets off Stevie Nicol. And there it is. It's in his path. And everybody, how long does Michael Thomas wait? Mahir, how long does he wait? An eternity. He waits
An
in
eternity. I was
forever and ever and ever. And everybody's saying, hit the goddamn ball, hit the effing ball. He hits it with the outside of his foot just as a defender is coming to tackle him. The ball is away. Grobbelaar's diving the other way. It goes past him. And you see Lee Dixon and I think Nigel Winterburn. They swap positions for a second as they run past the goal in ecstasy. Michael Thomas is on the ground, covered by players. Pure, pure drama. Pure drama. Yes. Thanks, Alex. Alex, like bloody hell, Ray. And
Yeah, they must have.
we remember the commentary. It's up for grabs now.
They must have
Iconic.
loved the whole analysis of it by you, our host.
Yeah, great stuff. So let me catch up some of the comments while I was getting. I was losing the run of myself. Brian Moore's Immortal Words is up for grabs now. London Old School. He lived in Moon Street off Upper Street. Been in Koh Samui, Thailand since 2004. I know Richmond Avenue well. London Old School. I've been in the States since 2003, so we've been in different locations, pretty much approximately the same time. Richard. Richard was born in Enfield Chase Farm Hospital, but raised as Arsenal, and you haven't looked back since. Yes, I mean our team, our team.
Yeah.
So this sets the stage for the Europa League final. Arsenal win against the odds against the Liverpool team. Surely it can't be as difficult. Am I understating circumstances for Wednesday?
Nope.
We have a much more even chance. How would you rate the final, Mahir? 50-50? You have a slightly favorites?
I think it's for me personally 70 to Arsenal.
70%.
Yes.
So I'm more like a 60-40. Now let's get on to the burning question, which Alex has just presented. The goalkeeping position, who do you play, Leno or Czech?
Mr. Burnley, no? Thank you.
The L, okay. The L, I think it needs to be like this, right?
Yeah.
I don't know, the camera messes me up. Yeah, I think you agree. I think I agree. All joking aside, there is too much at stake for this final. We have taken for granted our position in Champions League under Arsene Wenger, and we have to remember what he did for us. Even in the bad years, he kept us in Champions League. Now, I will admit that things are more and more competitive at the top of the league. So top four is more difficult now than it ever was. But if we want to get into the Champions League, surely Unai Emery needs to safeguard his job first of all in gaining Champions League, and surely you go with your best players.
I think one of our people said itself. If it's a final, you're going to have to play 11. And if that means putting, I would do that. Do you agree with that statement, right?
Yeah, and
No,
people will say there's been sentiment all the way through, but they were FA Cups, and this is a bigger competition
much bigger.
than an FA Cup. There's more at stake than just a trophy. There is securing our short-term future with extra funds that should go into the team. If we're to
At least
believe
60 million extra.
if we're to believe the interview from this week. Did you have a chance to look at the? Let me get through comments first. Um, so London Old School would start Leno, and if we're 3-0 up with 10 minutes to go, then we can stick check on. That's what London Old School says. Alex from Cannon Fodder TV says, I do not want Czech anywhere near the team. Much like a Mustafi, we do not want him anywhere near the team. It only takes less than a minute to score a goal. And here's the thing, you put Czech in and, okay, a goal goes in, heaven forbid, that is suspicious that maybe he could have done better with. You're not going to be able to stop all the controversy.
Nope, not at all.
So it's quite ridiculous. Richard has a question, Mahir. What's your thoughts on Manchester? What is your thoughts on Manchester City possibly getting banned from the Champions League next season?
I don't personally think that's my reasons being yeah, man, like some of the stuff is just not valid. It's not like Chelsea's ban, for example, where it proved to be true that we're actually buying underage players.
Yeah. And did you see after the FA Cup final, it was Pep who was being interviewed, and a journalist asked a question about payments.
Payments?
Yeah. And Pep got very, very angry about it, if he was pocketing any illicit payments.
Oh, okay. You know what? A lot of these things are covered up and never brought to the light.
Mm-hmm.
So if they actually can prove it to be true, then like it benefits certain clubs. Like for instance, for us, they will be kicked out of Champions League, and we instead will take the position.
And here's the thing: there's been some controversy about that interview. That why would you ask that question after Manchester City have just won the FA Cup? And the answer really is, when are you ever going to have an opportunity to ask a question with Manchester City or Pep about such a thing, other than when you get in front of him in such a situation as an FA Cup final?
I fully agree with you. It's the same like Mkhitaryan not playing in a final because he may never get this shot again.
Yeah, he did. I do have sympathy for Mkhitaryan, but he did win the Europa League with Manchester United a couple of years ago. Yes, he should really be allowed to go. And anybody who's watching, go check out Cannon Fodder TV. Alex is doing a segment of latest news, so check that out. It's good stuff. Where he did talk about last week about mixing politics and sport, and it should not happen.
True. Never been mixed.
No. We have a question from Alex. How would you view the season if Arsenal win the Europa League Cup final?
It moves from a was 6 to an.
Just say that again.
The rating from a 6 to an 8.
Yeah, I kind of would agree. I would probably go from a 7 to an 8.5. If everybody allows me to do 0.5s, if it would not be, if you're not allowed me to do a 0.5, I would just do an 8. Because we have seen definite improvement in the team, in the squad. This is a competition that we know he's a specialist in. And I think you might have to go soon, Mahir, but this is a competition that he is a specialist in, and I would give him that extra point.
Raymond,
Yes.
my brother, I'm just running a bit short on time, unfortunately.
Yeah, okay, okay. I will let you go. Okay.
But enjoy the rest of the show, everybody,
Yeah.
and keep my keep our host company throughout the whole show. Unfortunately, I have to be off to the call of prayers.
Okay.
So I'll see you guys soon. Thanks,
See you later. Thanks,
Great.
Gundit. Bye. All right, so I'm going to take the show on from here. Um, so yeah, London Old School says if we win the final, I think it has been a decent season with the squad that Emery inherited, and that's very true. People, I think people forget for the largest part that he's working with players that have not been his players, um, his choice, and some would say that's why he's the coach. He needs to work with the players that he gets, but he has had absolutely zero input with the players that he's had. Um, Another thing was the five captains. I completely understand why people would be perplexed and shake their head about that. Um, but my reasoning and understanding could be that he was trying to ingratiate himself with the dressing room, trying to um, understand the personalities that he has and the players that he has to work with. So the five captains was there. Yes, it will be an absolute joke if it continues into next season. He needs to pick a captain and a vice captain right now. Um, so that is London Old School's question. Or Emery has worked very well with the players that he has inherited. I think this shows that he's a good coach and he's able to, in some cases, get the best out of the players. In other cases, there's clearly players who need to leave the club, and we have talked about that ad nauseum and at full length. You know, Richard, I don't know how true it is, but I've heard the Pep Guardiola could be appointed as Juventus manager, and it's a 4-year deal. And I think we're getting caught up in silly season, Richard, because I actually announced that Arsene Wenger was going to Juventus 3 or 4 days ago. Um, yeah, right about the time Aaron Ramsey was visiting there, somebody leaked something that Arsene Wenger was going to be the new Juventus coach. So I guess we have to watch this space. Um, I would see Pep Guardiola viewing his position with Manchester City as unfinished business right now. Um, the one thing that remains for Manchester City is to win the Champions League, and they have not done that yet. And I would think that Pep would stay there a few more years. I'm waiting for. I even thought this year that Aguero would get older and be less effective. Obviously, a year on, I'm going to say the same thing. I did predict last year that Raheem Sterling would have a breakout year. This was really, really a breakout year for Raheem Sterling. I don't understand why he got Young Player award, but he definitely should have been one of the candidates for Player of the Year. Raheem Sterling's had a great season, and Pep Guardiola has had a big impact on Raheem Sterling. But yeah, they are probably missing a striker if in fact Aguero can keep up what he's doing. And I think something that points to that Aguero's losing his powers a little bit is that he was not top goal scorer this year. So I think Manchester City would need a striker in the summertime. And to answer your question, Richard, I think that Pep Guardiola has unfinished business at Manchester City. Cannon Fodder TV, Alex. Thanks for the questions, everybody. But there are 38 plus games in the Premier League. The reporters have many opportunities to ask that type of question. Personally, I thought it was bad time and bad taste asking that question. Um, it is bad timing. It is bad taste in any environment to introduce a question like that, Alex. And that is a good question that you have. I guess it comes down to whether you believe what Manchester City are doing, if they're doing it right within the spirit of the game, if they're doing things the correct way, or if you actually believe that they are doing things wrong in terms of the way they conduct their business. And I think that the gloss of Manchester City is waning a little bit. As everybody knows, they can go out and buy any player that they want. And look at a team like Arsenal, a team like Chelsea, a team like Tottenham, and even a team like Manchester United. How can they compete with that firepower? Now, Liverpool pushed Manchester City all the way this season, and they have to get plaudits for that. I mean, some people are bantering them because they got a huge points total only to lose only to lose. And, you know, will Liverpool do that again next season? Manchester City won something like 38 games. People can call this jealousy, and we are not directly, as Arsenal fans, we are not directly competing with Manchester City yet. But we do hope to be in 2 or 3 years' time. And but we do hope that there is a flat, a level playing field. That's what it is, a level playing field. So, as Arsenal supporters, we're not concerned about Manchester City right now because we're clearly not competing against Manchester City or Liverpool yet. We hope that we're there in a couple of years, but let's not forget if in a couple of years Manchester City are still doing the things that they're doing right now, and that's not for me to be to judge them. It is um, for them to play within the rules, for everybody to play within the rules, and we're going to see what happens. I'm not educated enough to know, or I'm not up on enough on Manchester City to know what's going on there. But I also know that a journalist has to do his job and he has to ask questions. And if there's not an opportunity, and probably that type you say in bold that type of question, um, probably it because it's a high profile game in an FA Cup final that a reporter is seen to ask that type of question. And but in Pep's defense, he did seem like an innocent man who had been accused of something. So we shall see what happens. And Alex says, thanks for the shout out. You are welcome, Alex. You were doing some innovative stuff over there on your channel. Anybody who's watching this, go check out Cannon Fodder TV. Um, had the opportunity to meet up with Alex when I visited the Brighton game, and we talked a little bit about what we could do, what how we could set ourselves apart a little bit from other YouTube channels. And that's not to denigrate anything anyone else is doing, but we just everybody's looking for slightly different content. And I think Alex, you found a few avenues for your channel to go down, and it's a little bit different from the norm. So I'm definitely inspired by what you're doing over there, and I um, do appreciate all of your help and advice. Now, Richard, you have got a question. Richard from Arsenal TV. Also, check out Richard's stuff. He does some really good stuff as well. I really like the player ratings that you do, Richard. Question is, as from next season, I would like to see Socrates or Lacazette be our two main captains. Absolutely agree with that. Richard, you are the one who has convinced me to get on board with Socrates. And yeah, there's very few players in this game that are born leaders, and I think Socrates is one of those. I've seen that. He's grown on me over the season, and your comments to me about Socrates has grown on me as well. Um, these are two players that definitely love the club. Will play for the badge, and I saw something on Twitter there the other day that people are asking if Koscielny should leave. I'm thinking to myself, there's at least 5 or 6 players that should be shown the door even before Koscielny goes. But I do think that this Europa final is something, uh, some kind of destiny for Koscielny, and he has earned the right to come back stronger, play well, get us into the final, and hopefully get us over the line and win that Europa final. And that would be a good way for Koscielny to bow out as well. Now, as I get through the next few questions, has anybody got any input as to the um, the interview from Vinay and Rahul that you must have seen? So, as I get through the next questions, if you want to load me up with a few more questions regarding the interview, and I'll give you my comments shortly about that. So, yes, thanks, Richard. I agree. Socrates should be the captain. Um, I can't see why Lacazette could not be a vice captain or even a captain. Some people have different opinions on whether strikers should be captains or not, but I think it's more of a token thing now in the modern game. Okay, London Old School. I heard about Pep going to Juventus, but he thinks he will stay one more season. A great coach and a true winner. And I didn't give him more than one season, London Old School. If Pep is a man who is driven, I think we can all agree on that. He's a man who wants more and more and more. He's, for crying out loud, he's remonstrating with Raheem Sterling at the end of the FA Cup final about doing things better, what he should do, what's right, what's wrong. So Pep is a man that's driven, and I really truly believe that he's going to stay with Manchester City until they win the Champions League and maybe even beyond that, because they have the the money behind them. They can do it. And why would he go to Juventus? Juventus is a team who, nothing against them, they're going to win the Italian league every year, and they have Ronaldo, they have Ramsey, so they're an attractive team to go to. But I think Manchester City is a project that Pep has not completed yet. So So, London Old School, Socrates has got the right attitude for captain. I believe that. And it's hard to know what goes on in the dressing room, but you have to believe the way you're seen on the field is something what you're seeing in the dressing room. I think there's a little bit of banter about Socrates because you can see in the Arsenal videos that he's a very stern person. Doesn't seem to have a big sense of humor. And I think that there's some banter from the other players around that. But I think there's also respect. I mean, a lot of you will know that you have to earn respect on the field as well. I mean, Tony Adams had to walk the walk as well as talk the talk. And Tony Adams was somebody who could speak to a legend. I keep going back to this comment because it's so it just lodged in my mind where Tony Adams pulled Dennis Bergkamp to one side and he said, "Listen, you're a great player, but you need to win. You need to win titles." And I think that lit a spark in Dennis. That somebody Dennis respected Tony Adams. They were adversaries for years before Dennis came to Arsenal. They were playing against each other in big international tournaments. Tony Adams was at the height of his powers just before Dennis Bergkamp came to Arsenal, and so Dennis had so much respect for Tony Adams, and I think Tony Adams had definitely a lot of respect for Dennis Bergkamp, and Tony Adams lit a fire under Dennis Bergkamp, and that's what I see. A small part of Socrates is like that. I think that he has respect to the players. So, and Unai Emery knows the team at this point after 1 year. So, a question from Cannon Fodder TV, Alex. Should Arsenal be playing a game so close to the Europa League Cup final? Ideally, the Europa League final, Europa final, would have been maybe 2 weeks after our last league game. I don't understand why there was such a hurry to finish the league program. But to answer your question, Alex, at any time, any player can get injured. So I'm really a believer in just playing and letting the fates decide. Now, obviously, we need to protect definitely our two strikers and maybe our two centre backs as well, because they, to me, are the core of the team. So I believe that, yeah, you should protect certain players, but it's kind of a double answered, double barrel answer for you. But definitely, some players need the minutes. Um, some who have been injured, like Danny Welbeck. So that's a good thing. And I believe that Hector Bellerin is back in training. I think, as we said earlier in the show, it's too early to risk Hector Bellerin playing. So London Old School is too much of a risk of injury to play a match before. Now let's move on to the next segment. Sort of, we talked about the Europa final. We talked about Czech, Leno. We're all pretty much in agreement with playing Leno. It's going to be very, very interesting what the coach is going to do. Is he's stuck in a difficult position now, but I think he has to do what's right for the team, and that is playing your best player. And irrespective of how it looks in the dressing room, coach doesn't have to be every player's best friend. So that's, I think, where he lays. He has to make the decision to he has to make a tough decision as well. So moving on, did anyone see the interview with Raul and Vinay Tanye? And I hope I pronounced that correctly. Now, here's my take on this. You have a passionate man on one side who loves his job and who is very, very keen and very excited about what Arsenal can offer new recruits and how he's able to sell the club to those players. And then on the other side, you have a very, very well spoken, not to say that Raul is not well spoken. Well, oh my God, did anyone see that gravelly voice? Um, yeah, I don't know about that. I could not deal with that voice for too long. But on the other hand, we have Vinay, who is like a well spoken corporate person. And of course, their personalities will suit what their job is going to be. You know, um, Vinay is a corporate person, so he has to move in those circles, and that should not make him less trustworthy. But we have all been stung by Gazidis. We all understand what Gazidis did, a little rash, and we are kind of worried that Vinay will do the same thing. He's definitely toeing the line in saying the owners want success. He's definitely taken that one on his shoulders and run with it. He has said that the owners, we're in contact with the owners every day. We want success. They want success. So we're all in agreement, but we have to see. And he's saying that anything um, any kind of revenue we generate through sales will be directly going back into the team. Now that remains to be seen, and it's very, very misleading. And I try not to get caught up into how much money we're going to have to spend this season because uh, I, for one, do not know all of the ins and outs of transfer dealings, how that money is apportioned, Is it spread out over the years of the contract? If you buy someone for 4 years, do you pay that transfer fee off over 4 years, or do you pay it all off in one big block? So I don't get caught up in that too much. Just the very simplistic way of thinking is we're going to get, I believe it's 28 million if we win the Europa League, and then obviously we gain Champions League qualification, which opens us up into all these different avenues of sponsorship deals and just outright payments for achieving Champions League. One little caveat I want to tell you all about is um, another sweetener for us to win the Europa League is that we will go into pot one next season if we do win if we do win the Europa League. We go into Champions League, we'll be in pot one, and guess who's going to get dropped down into pot two? That's right, Tottenham. Tottenham will get dropped down into pot two, and they will, technically speaking, be involved in a more difficult group than we probably will if we win the Europa League. But getting back to Vinay and Raul, Vinay is the person who's very, very corporate, and let me know your thoughts about it, Richard. What you thought about the interview. I thought the Raul came across much more personable, and in a way, he has to be much more personable because he is the man who's going to be charged with recruiting for this summer. He is the man who all of the weight of expectation is going to be laid upon. Emery may be the figure that most fans will see as the person to blame for our transfer dealings. And of course, Emery will have an input. It's no coincidence that they're both Spanish. They should be able to communicate. Another thing that James Rowe talks about in our back row, our back, their defenders, can they communicate? Well, Emery and Raul will be able to communicate. And Raul comes across very, very personably. He's a guy that you would want to probably have a cigar with and a drink with. And I think that he could work very well within the confines of what he's going to do this summer. He talks about, and these are all great points, and he's picked up on the culture of the club. He's talked about the history of the club, the culture of the club, and he's talked about all the ways that he can sell Arsenal to prospective players. Now, all of that, a lot of that to a large degree depends on the results on Wednesday night. Um, who we're going to be talking to, what kind of players we're going to be talking to. There's players waiting right now. And I watched your video, Alex, Cannon Fodder TV. I watched your video about Robin Van Persie, and we do forget that players are human beings, and they have extended family, they have kids, they have wives they have to keep happy, and we know about some of the wives of certain players who wanted to go to Milan, they wanted to go to certain places because they are fashion locations. Now, London is a great city to sell, but there are players that Arsenal have been in contact, and that was another great point of the whole interview. We understand now. I understand now, and I didn't think it was right. I didn't think it was legal to be able to talk to players through the year, but I understand now that that goes on. We talk to players through the year. We line up certain possibilities for transfers. We didn't do anything pretty much in January. We really needed a central defender, but we didn't do anything. And it was quite striking that Unai Emery was told that in January. He came out in the press conference like, the club had told me I cannot sign anyone. But yeah, we know who we want to target. Raul has all of the. You can't ask for better bargaining chips within London because Arsenal. Maybe I'm biased, but Arsenal is now the most attractive club for me in London. Better than a Tottenham, better than a Chelsea. Our history, our facilities, the fact that it's a capital city. All we need is that Champions League qualification that we can look at just a slightly higher notch quality of player. And so Raul is excited. He's excited because he has all of these possibilities when he's talking to a player. Look at a fantastic stadium. Look at Colney. Look at the training facilities. Everything's top notch. Look at the history. When you look around the stadium, we've got trophy placards on our stadium. We have a history. Tottenham, they have a history that's empty with no trophies involved. You look around our stadium, there's numerous trophies laden. The stadium's laden with trophies. The facilities there, the history's there. So Raul is excited. I get the sense of Raul, he just needs to get started. He just wants to get started. So I have a question or a comment from Richard. They talk a good game, but we need to see results on the pitch and be challenging for the big major titles, like to say they want. And absolutely correct, Richard. Um, we've talked about this in the lead up to this final and the end of this season, that we have the biggest summer coming, biggest summer coming, and the only history we have to this regime is what they did last summer, and we're not exactly sure who's involved in bringing Bernd Leno, but Bernd Leno was a good addition to our staff last year. Now, imagine if we had done badly last year in terms of recruiting, we would be in a worse situation. But Bernd Leno, good addition. Socrates, good addition. And then we have Guendouzi, a little bit raw still. I think this season's gotten to him. He's a young player. He'll come back stronger. Maybe not in the next year. He might hit that plateau next year, but for the next few years, Guendouzi is going to be good. Socrates is going to be a good short-term fix, maybe captain material next year. And then, of course, we have Torreira. And Torreira, he was eased in at the start of the season, got his legs October, November, played really, really well. And I think in December and January, much like the rest of the team, he hit a plateau, got a little bit tired, and unjustly sent off at Wembley against that lot, but probably needed that break, which was a fallow period for all of us creators, those 3 or 4 weeks. Much like Torreira, us creators had a fallow time. So we were out for 3 or 4 weeks. And now Torreira's come back much stronger, and hopefully those 4 weeks will stand us to good stead. And I still have Torreira scoring the winner for us on Wednesday. So let's hope that happens. But yes, you're right, Richard. They do need to put their money where their mouth is. Raul, I'm excited about Raul, and it's really, really good to have that interview. I know it was a PR exercise. I know the club put this out because of renewing season tickets and all of that marketing stuff. We're not fooled by that. But at the same time, Raul came across as a very personable person, somebody that is very likable. Vinay, I can put to one side. He can do his corporate stuff. We're not really concerned with that. He can talk to the Cronkies all he likes. But I have much more, I'm putting much more stock on Raul now. And having seen him in a video, understood how he operates, how he speaks, and all of that, I think he can be the person to move us forward this summer. Let's just say, put it this way: having seen him in a video and heard him speak, I'm more confident that we can do more business this summer. And hopefully, if we look at last summer, 4 out of 5 were good signings. Lichtsteiner is one of those that can leave. As far as I'm concerned, Jenkinson's another, Mustafi's another, and Mkhitaryan would be another. and maybe even Monreal. And Koscielny has earned the right to decide what he wants to do next season. If he wants to stay with the team, it won't be for the large part in the league program for me or the Champions League if we attain it. It'll be more in the cups and stuff like that. But I'm excited about Raul and what he can do. He sounds excited about what he can do. I was disappointed with their response to the Aaron Ramsey situation, but I understand that they looked at the numbers as well. But it's just a shame we're losing such a good player for zero, zero coming back into us, and that was just. We're going to be paying for a couple of years yet. We're going to be paying for the misdeeds of the previous regime, for all of the things that it did that was good. There's been some bad things from the previous regime, and it's in the playing staff. And even I saw a tweet about Mustafi saying he's got a contract till 2021 and he's going to honor it. Well, you can be sold as well, Mustafi. So we need to find, and perhaps the hardest part of this summer will not be recruiting, it will be selling. The hardest part of this summer will be selling. Trying to remove, forcibly remove players who are on good wage packets right now won't be easy. And I'm not even talking about Ozil. I'm talking about Mkhitaryan, Mustafi, maybe even a Kolasinac. Although I think Kolasinac will survive what I'm going to call this cull in the summertime, because we do need to get rid of some of these players. We do definitely need to get rid of some of these players. So if there's no more comments about that interview with Vinay and Raul, which I'm more excited about Raul because that's the playing staff side. Vinay is the corporate side, and we know they're gonna get good deals. The corporate people do that; they get good deals. We're going to be in more of an attractive position if and when we win the Europa League on Wednesday. Now, let's move on to the Europa League and let me know your thoughts about. Okay, we've pretty much talked about the goalkeeper situation. I think we all believe that Unai Emery needs to do what's right for him and the security of his job and not worry about sentiments, not worry about um, what people think about him in the dressing room because he leaves that dressing room, they're going to say whatever they want to say. They just need to respect the coach, and I think there's a lot of good feeling for Unai Emery. And I talked to the sports psychologist Steve Cohen last week, talking about sports psychology, and very good episode of no. If you haven't had the opportunity to see it, please do because sports psychology is the extra 5% that's going to help you win games. When you look at athletes that are matched pretty evenly, and I think all of us know that this Arsenal Chelsea game is going to be pretty even. So you look at this, it's pretty even. Sports psychology is going to give you the edge uh, where you need it. And as a group of players to follow a coach who has been there and done that, won the Europa League 3 times with Sevilla, who they are by no means a big club in Spain. They're quite similar to what we are in England right now. But to do that for three times, our players will believe in our coach and will believe that he knows what the competition's all about. They will believe that he got them there in a certain way as well, because you need two things to be successful. You need a good team who listens to the coach, and you need a good coach who listens to his team. It's a symbiotic relationship, and they need to believe in each other. We've seen other teams, mostly Tottenham down through the years, although you can't say that right now. Tottenham down through the years where their players did not believe in the coach and the coach did not believe in the players, and they didn't have any success. I'm sorry, Tottenham, to keep ragging on you, but you just don't have the history that we do. And yeah, our players are believing in our coach, and our coach has been there before, done that, got the T-shirt, and yeah, that's the extra 5% that we have going forward. Now, everyone, let me know what you think we should play at the back. Should we play three at the back or a traditional four at the back? Um, Everybody's worried about Ozil and Jorginho. That is a matchup that is should not happen, in my opinion. Uh, Ozil can still be on the field, but I would not. He is not a player who's going to sit on Jorginho and cut off that supply. So what we're seeing is probably Chelsea will play forward the back. Um, Luiz and Christensen with the two left and right back. Then you have Jorginho who's going to be directing play. We need a player who's going to sit on Jorginho, and I don't believe Ozil is that player, but I do believe Ozil should be on the pitch. So I believe we should play forward the back myself. Let me know what you guys think. Um, I'd play if it was me. This is my team. I would put Leno in goal, Socrates with Koscielny. I would play Monreal for experience. Ainsley Maitland-Niles right back. So that is my flat back four. Then I would play in midfield a diamond formation. Um, Xhaka at the base, Torreira to the right hand side, who's going to have to account for Hazard. So that's Torreira and Xhaka. I would play Ozil, who can supply the balls for our two strikers, and I would play Guendouzi. And I think I would put Guendouzi to sit on Jorginho. Now, obviously, then we have our two strikers, and these are the two players that we should build our team around um, for this game and for next season as well. Um, Moving forward, and then I'll talk a little bit more about our recruitment for next season. So Hazard is the danger man for us, and that's why I would want to put Torreira to be accountable for Hazard, along with Ainsley Maitland-Niles, who is probably the one position we're most worried about. Ainsley Maitland-Niles versus Hazard. We kind of have to double up and play Ainsley Maitland-Niles and Torreira whenever Hazard has the ball. And if, God forbid, he gets past both of them, we need Socrates then to be the final stopper. Right, London Old School. That's about the right lineup. Hopefully, Conte doesn't play for Chelsea. Yeah, hopefully Conte doesn't play for Chelsea, but it looks likely that he will. My only debate is whether to go four at the back or go three at the back. And my reasoning for four at the back is because I'm worried that Ozil will not be able to sit on Jorginho. I I don't believe we're going to face a big striking threat. We will have Giroud and we will have Pedro against us. But do we really need three at the back to account for those two danger players along with Hazard? I think four at the back is enough, and I would like that extra body in Guendouzi to sit on Jorginho, and that's my reasoning. Um, that's my reasoning. London Old School, you agree with me for the back, but I do feel this is what I feel Emery will do, and starting with the goalkeeper, which we all feel he's going to pick Czech, which he's taken a certain percentage of risk in doing that. Czech has definitely not done anything wrong. Um, he has played well in the competition, and he is a professional. So he's going to do all the right things. I'm just worried about the backlash if it goes wrong. And yes, you go into a final, you should not fear. You should not fear for what's going to happen. Um, I think he will play three at the back. I just think it will be Socrates, Koscielny, Monreal, Kolasinac, and Ainsley Maitland-Niles, along with Xhaka and Torreira, and then finally Ozil and the two strikers. And that's not a bad lineup. And if you're worried about Jorginho, which I kind of am, we don't want to give Chelsea a foothold into this game. We don't want them to start passing the ball and for us not to have possession. We don't want Chelsea to control possession. We want to have some possession because if they're controlling possession, our strikers are getting tired, and we don't want that to happen. So that's the reason why I want Guendouzi in there on Jorginho, and he needs to be disciplined. We have young players who will be experiencing the final for the first time. We have Guendouzi, if he's selected. We have Ainsley Maitland-Niles, and possibly even Torreira, who are younger players. And we don't know what the refereeing situation will be in any given situation. You could have yellow cards, you could have, God forbid, red cards, and the final has gone against us. So we need to guard against that. Guendouzi, if he plays, he needs to play disciplined. And yeah, Hazard for the I saw Sarri's press conference. Did anyone else see that? And you have to feel sorry for him a little bit, although I can't really countenance that. But he's a coach who's under pressure, so much more than Unai Emery is. But they've achieved top four. They've been in a final already this season, and they're in a second final. Does that say something about us as Arsenal supporters that we feel like we've done an equal amount of our season has been just as good as Chelsea's, but we haven't gotten top four. We finished in fifth, and we're feeling more upbeat than Chelsea, who finished third, and are more downbeat. So, fact, think about that if you will. Um, yeah, did I feel sorry for Sarri a little bit, but I can't even imagine what it would be like if we lose on Wednesday night. So I can't even think about that. Imagine the Arsenal players in a half-empty stadium, which we haven't even talked about Baku yet. Let's talk about Baku for a second, and then we'll just close out this show very soon. We'll come up to 90 minutes like we always do. London Old School, Gianluca Rocci, and I have to check into his record, London Old School. That would be interesting to see what kind of a league campaign he had. I hope he's not a card happy referee. I hope he's not one of those who likes to flash cards all over the place. But Baku, I was joking with my hair earlier this morning that they're going to be handing tickets out to people walking past the stadium on Wednesday morning because there's no way they can fill that stadium. There's no way they can fill that stadium. And for Arsenal and Chelsea to get a combined 18% of the capacity of that stadium is outrageous. And what's even more outrageous is that the allocation of the tickets were limited because they knew the airport could not handle the amount of people that would come in for the Europa League final. Absolutely outrageous. They have really, really misstepped here. UEFA has. Really, really messed up. London Old School says Baku was a terrible choice. Sevilla was the alternative. And what's wrong with Sevilla? What's wrong with picking an alternative? Baku, I understand you want to try to be inclusive with all countries, whether they be in Europe or not. But to pick a venue like Baku sounds like a outpost in Star Wars. To pick a venue like Baku that doesn't have the facilities was well known not to have the facilities. But where I saw somewhere someone say it does have 20%, this country has 20% of the oil reserves in the world. So let that sink in for a second. Surely there is financial stuff at hand and not above the table. Not above the table. A destination where you have to travel 17 hours through Moscow if you're flying, through Istanbul. Connections are up to 7 hours. Some fans are driving there. Some, and it has to be said, some Armenian nationalities are not allowed to attend. Some Arsenal supporters who are of Armenian descent are not allowed to enter the country. And Mkhitaryan was assured of his safety. But really, would you take that seriously if it was you? Like we said earlier, like Alex had said in one of his videos, uh, football players have families. They have children, they have wives, they have extended family, sisters, nephews, cousins, parents, and they oftentimes help support them financially. So if you're not around to earn money, if something would happen to Mkhitaryan, Arsenal cannot take that chance and have not taken that chance. And Arsenal were there earlier this year for a game in the Europa League group stages. Mkhitaryan did not play, but he has featured throughout the Europa League. Now, this can be turned into an advantage for Arsenal. Um, the team can rally around. The team can rally around such things as Peter Cech if he's playing, but definitely such things of let's do it for Mickey. Let's do this for Mkhitaryan. Let's win the Europa League. London Old School. Baku. Brown envelopes have passed over to UEFA. Definitely something is going on that's definitely fishy. Um, I guess all of these things involve money, and in some ways, the supporters and the players and the clubs are just pawns. Just pawns. London Old School. I've been to 3 European finals with Arsenal. Lost to 1-1. I could afford to go, but too much hassle via long flight, etc. Yeah, yeah, and something I realized when I went to the Brighton game, and I guess we take it for granted. Arsenal supporters follow their team up and down the country, but every time you leave your house, you don't have the security of your own home. You're spending money for room and board. You're paying for travel. You're paying to eat. You're paying all of these things, and for the supporters to have to endure such a long and arduous journey. Somebody really at UEFA should really should have looked at the group stages. I know this thing was probably decided 2 years ahead of time, so that's probably a futile argument. But don't you know you have a cup final on the edge of Europe. That the travel from these main countries of Spain, England, even Italy, it's too far to go to Baku. Too far. So anyway, I'm going to close out now pretty soon, but I want to tell you that I will be here Monday again. We will have a. We're going to try and do a live question and answer session. Follow up on any news because things are going to heat up over the weekend. That's why I wanted to get an early show in Saturday. We are off over here in the States on Monday, so I'm going to do another show about the same time in 48 hours from now. Try and do a question and answer show. Hopefully, have Mai here with me for a bit longer, and let's see if I can rustle up a guest or two. If anyone wants to come on this show with me, um, I would definitely welcome that. That would be cool. And we will do it at a time that suits as well. And then on Wednesday, we're going to have a watch along, watching the game. So you'll be able to see our reactions to what we're watching. And I think that'll be fun as well. But hey, for now, thank you everybody for joining me. Really, really do appreciate all of your support. Shout out to Richard from Arsenal TV. Go check that out. And shout out to Alex from Cannon Fodder TV. Check out their channels. And definitely a shout out to London Old School. Uh, my regular has always been with us from the start. This is episode 19 now. On Monday we will have episode 20. So I do thank you, London Old School, and everybody that's watching this on playback. We will have another show on Monday, and then we'll have a watch along on Wednesday. So as we watch the Europa League Final live, and that'll be fun. But for now, I am signing out. If you're new to the channel, if you're watching this on playback, you're new to the channel, you haven't subscribed, do it now. Right down there, hit the subscriber button, bell notification, and hit the like button. Really, really do appreciate it. And this is our first season. We are growing and growing. And thanks for London Old School and Noe. I'm sure Noe will watch this on playback. And all of my subscribers, we would not be here. Well, we probably would be, but it's a lot more fun to have you guys with us and to grow the channel. And we would not be here without you guys and your support. So, from Mahir and myself, much love. Until next time on Monday, I am out of here.